What drove you to travel? What drove you to, what's the backstory behind the love for travel that you have?
Yeah, so growing up in a household, it's just my brother and I. He's 2 years older than me. My father's from Egypt. My mom is from Slovenia, former Yugoslavia, and they were both educated in Europe. And that was a big European, that upbringing was to always travel with your kids.
Hey, listen, guys, Sarasota Speaks is excited to announce that we are partnering with the More to Life organization on their charity golf tournament September 30th. We're teeing it up for freedom at Laurel Oak. We're going to drop the link in the description below. You can sign up your foursome to join us at Laurel Oak on September 30th for a charity golf tournament. It's going to be a great time. See you there. All right, guys, you know what it is. We're rolling into episode 66. We've got a great guest, but as always, my name is Brad Hannon.
Trey Martell.
Felipe Colon.
And we've got Malaka Hilton from Admiral Travel. How are you, Admiral? How are you, Malaka?
You can call me Admiral. I'm good.
Captain.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
We're excited to talk. I was talking to you, prior to the show about some travel plans with the agency and things like that. I'd love to get into what you do for businesses, but tell us, for your everyday, average person that's watching this video, what is Admiral Travel and what do you guys offer?
So we are a boutique agency. So I say that because, there's a lot of mega agencies where you hear about all these different independent contractors and everybody wants to be a travel agent. But
Is that a thing? Everyone wants to be a travel agent?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to travel.
Yeah.
That's
why. Yeah, there's a lot of people who want to be travel agents because they think the job is easy, right? And you get to travel the world.
Yeah, they think they can get free perks
yeah,
too, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
I started Admiral Travel in 1997. So we're about 27, almost 28 years old here. And boutique meaning there's only 10 of us. And we create unique global travel experiences that, really caters more to the higher end traveler. And it's just, Sarasota is a great place to be for that. People with time and money.
Do you bring people here too, or do you?
No, everything is all outbound.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly international. We do some domestic, but most of it is the exotics.
Well, when I hear that, there's one name that comes to mind, somebody in particular that loves to travel and is always, leaving the country, and that would be this guy right now, for sure.
So I have my question. Admiral Travel.
by the way, Brad's being very facetious. Trey doesn't leave. He's in two places usually, the roof and the couch.
And we have a good thing going where he's bought from like every single guest. So we're looking forward to pitching him on a 2-week vacation.
Big buyer.
2-week honeymoon, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It has to be during the winter months. But where did you come up with the name of the company and what's the significance?
Okay, so this was probably before you guys were born, but back in that day, in the 90s, Yellow Pages, right? So we wanted to have, I wanted to have a name that was going to be first in the phone book, and it sounds so
why
crazy.
not AAA?
Well, because AAA was already there.
Of course. Is that what I was going to say? AAA Travel, Acme Travel, Admiral Travel. Next one.
And Admiral obviously is a nautical theme, and we sell. The idea was to sell a lot of cruises. That's how Admiral was born.
Are you still doing a lot of cruises?
Yes.
What's the big cruise lines that you guys work with? Like, what are the main ones?
So I'm
genuinely curious because you said high-end clients and then cruises, and that those two things don't always go together.
Right. But we don't sell those other cruises, so it is more of your Silver Sea, your Regent, your Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection.
Got it.
Four Seasons is now coming out with a yacht. A couple of yachts are in process too. So Crystal, any of those brands that you may have heard of.
Yeah, more of a Carnival,
we
Royal
don't
Caribbean
sell
guy,
Carnival.
so.
Royal Caribbean we do sell. Royal Caribbean I think is great for multi-gen and quick getaways, especially out of Tampa, Port Canaveral, Fort Lauderdale, all of that. But no, ours is definitely more catered more towards those.
Is it true Virgin is coming out with a cruise line?
And I went on Virgin Voyages. So I have a daughter and a son, but my daughter who had graduated college, took a year off to spend in New Zealand, and she was like, Mom, come over in March this past year, and let's hop on a cruise and sail from Auckland to Sydney. Like,
Sure,
yeah, I'm all
done.
for it. Yeah, which one? She said Virgin Voyages. I was like, shit, I don't know if I can get on a Virgin Voyage. I'm not sure if that's like really for me, but you know what? It's my daughter. It's girls' trip.
What is it, a younger crowd or something?
It is a younger crowd. And it's not even so much that it's a younger crowd. It's like a wild party crowd.
Okay.
And I had so much fun.
Come on, you could hang in there.
Oh
with
my
them.
God. Oh, everybody thought we were sisters.
Oh,
so I was
perfect.
just like, oh my God, this is great. I love Virgin Voyages. But you know, Richard Branson, who he's so smart and he's brilliant and he's created something that is you can't go on expecting it to be that super luxe because
Right.
it's not. But what he's created is pretty special. And you know, people want to spend the extra money to be in what they call the rock star quarters. Fair enough. You know, if you just want a little inside, what they call it, I don't even think they call it
Like
a
an
cabin.
interior room, right?
It was great though. So we sailed from Auckland to Sydney. And it was a lot more fun. I had to go in with an open mind, and I did, and loved it. So so Virgin Voyages.
How long
is
does
out
that
there,
take,
too.
Auckland City? A lot longer than probably people would think.
It was 12 days.
Okay.
But you're sailing around New Zealand, and you're stopping at ports along the way, and then you go through the fjords, and then it's a couple days across the Tasman Sea, and you stop in Tasmania. I mean, it's like, hopefully you have good weather, because if it's not good. But we had great weather. Yeah, it was fun. Good time.
So, as somebody that's obviously in travel, I think you have a passion for travel.
Yeah.
We'll get into that backstory here in a minute. But how many countries have you been to?
I don't even know.
You don't count?
I don't count, and
You don't
I
have like a
probably
map in
should
your office
know.
with pins all over it?
No, I should, but I've been
Just
to
give me a
every.
guess.
I really don't know.
100? How
I've
many
been to every
countries are there,
continent.
Felipe? How many countries are there?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can't tell you.
I haven't been to
those
the-
borders have changed over the years. When I
Yes.
was studying this stuff, there were a lot fewer.
When I was studying, there were, and I thought he was about to give a number.
No, I mean, I have to say, I've been pretty much everywhere that I've always wanted to go. And then there's places I never really wanted to go to. And I ended up going just because of business and loved it. So I hit continent number 7 a year ago with Antarctica. It's typically everybody's last continent.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it was amazing though,
Yeah.
right? So, I couldn't get
It actually surprises me to think that you don't know the number of countries. Because, not the number
you
of countries
don't
in
know
the world, the number of countries you've been to. Because you got to theoretically, you're in the planning business, right? Or am I saying that in error? Or are you more of a curator? Like, can you walk us through this type
Absolutely.
of service you provide?
Yeah.
Planning, curating, a little bit of both.
So
something we're
I
missing.
think that there's space in this industry for everybody, right? There's the order taker, and then there is the creator. And I like to create unique experiences that nobody else is really thinking about, and something that I can just put out there and say, hey, who wants to come with me, right? There's not a lot of travel advisors who want to take their clients with them. Right? I mean, I do have a list.
I'm already in on taking you with. It seems like you'd be a great time.
And
so.
and we have such a great time. So I do create, and I try to do what you can't Google, right? So I come up with crazy ideas, and
Give us a
sometimes they
crazy
stick.
idea. Walk us through one.
Or a crazy trip, like start to finish.
So back in, this was a while ago. I would say probably 15 years ago, I was working with an organization here for the Sarasota Film Festival, right? I want to say this was like 2004. And through that organization, connecting with different chefs and, people who were involved in whatever those plans were. So one of the chefs, Roy Yamaguchi of Roy's Restaurants, was doing something for the film festival. So we started chatting, and I said, kind of be a cool idea to bring you on a trip and have you be our celebrity chef, right? And this was 2007, I think it was somewhere around there. And he was like, yeah, sure. Roy's super cool. We're still good friends to this day. And then I paired it with a friend of mine who's a winemaker, who obviously grandson of the Salvatore Ferragamo, the fashion designer. So his name is also Salvatore. He's my age.
And last name Ferragamo.
Yep, last name
that's
Ferragamo.
awesome.
But he has a winery in Tuscany. So he's got a wine label called Il Boro. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to pair this celebrity chef with this, celebrity winemaker, and we do an event in Egypt.
Easy
And
enough.
we charter a boat on the Nile, and we plan to do this dinner at the base of the pyramid. So long short, I sell out this trip. I probably didn't charge enough, and everybody told me that at the end of it. I'm like, yeah, tell me that now. But Roy planned and created a meal paired with, so it's like Hawaiian fusion paired with Italian wines at the base, the foot of the pyramids. We had the pyramids lit up, and no one's gonna Google that, right?
You're checking a lot of boxes there. I mean, that must have been an interesting crowd.
It was very, very cool, and then it just kind of like it spun off from that, working with Salvatore. We've remained good friends. We just had a really cool event at his place in Tuscany for a small group of 20 people. But, he's then friends with Andrea Bocelli. So we organized to have this group get behind the scenes and backstage at one of his concerts in the Theater Silencio, which is in Bocelli's backyard. So I think it's one of those things where I've always felt like all you can do is say no, right? Like I can ask you, I can present you with what I think might be a cool idea. And, I think at my industry especially, everybody's too busy just answering that phone and taking a credit card payment over the phone to go on that, that 6-night cruise or
and
whatever
selling
it
like
is.
the cookie cutter packages
Correct.
too.
And I love my travel agency colleagues, but let's face it, they're all pretty lazy, right? Like they're not thinking creatively.
You're not making any
outside.
friends
I don't
on this
care.
podcast.
They don't like me anyway. So, but just to think creatively and say, okay, what can I do to work harder really to create something that it may work, it may not. And it's almost 30 years later, and it's a lot of fun. And, we say no to a lot of people who want to go on our trips because one bad egg, right?
Oh, yeah.
So there's that difference. You can call a certain tour company who's just answering that phone and saying, yep, we'll sign you up for that trip. And now you're on this trip with 20 other people. And, if you've got two personalities, especially in this very charged climate that we live in, right? It is going to be miserable.
Yeah, it's going to ruin somebody's trip.
Yeah, so I screen everybody, and if I've already traveled with you before, great. If you want to bring a friend, that's better. But if you're just calling me off the street because you heard about it, I have an interview with you. Wow. My staff would have an interview with you, and we just have to make sure. And if at the end it doesn't seem that it's going to work out, it's a very polite conversation, and we'd love to work with you and plan your travel, but I don't think this is the trip.
Right.
Trey loves my analogies. I'm going to give you one. So you're almost like a college admissions person for like a small college,
I'd want to
right?
be a college student.
But you've got to put together a class. You got to put together a collection of folks who are going to all work well together to make the best experience for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which is not easy.
What's the percentage of, it doesn't have to be the exact percentage, but like, just roughly, how many people are coming to you for like private family travel? Like, hey, I want to take my wife and kids to the Amalfi Coast and, want your expertise, versus how many people coming to you with, hey, we've got this group of high school friends that goes on a trip every year and there's 15 of us, like group travel versus individual?
So the group travel that I create is a big chunk of the business. The group travel, like say if it's different businesses that come in or friends, it's probably like 15, 20%. And then the rest of it is that individual travel.
So you create a group travel where you bring different couples or friends and you create the group to fill the slots. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds a lot like Michael from Michael's on East with his
that's
wine
what
trips.
She plans those.
I plan those for you. Yeah.
I was actually saying that because I figured you did.
Yeah,
Makes
no,
sense.
Michael and I have been working together since 2005.
I was just giving her an opportunity to say that.
Yeah, no, we've been working together for almost 20 years now. So, yeah.
Now, my fiance really likes to travel, and she's very intrigued by these trips. What are some of the trips you've done with Michael from Michael's on East?
So, we introduced Michael to Africa, and he fell in love with Africa, and we take him back every other year to Africa. So, you should take your fiance to Africa.
That's the second time I've heard her recommend Africa as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, they say that's where it all started, right?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That's where it all started.
Oh, man. I love it.
Well, I have a few questions, and I want to kind of play devil's advocate on one of the things you said, which is, you said there are a lot of, we talked earlier before the meeting about, you go to these business conferences and everybody makes analogies about travel agents being a dying industry, but obviously that's not the case. You've been thriving for over 25 years, you said, right? Can you walk us through like why you think people say that and what separates you and what you do? Because obviously you're catering to a higher end clientele that needs this kind of service.
Yes.
So if you want to do extraordinary things, you need to plan extraordinarily, you need to curate extraordinarily, you need to do all these things well.
I think, as we were kids growing up, and it was, if our parents were using a travel agent, it was always the old lady with the bifocals and, she's got the earpiece. So I think it was always just sort of this like old lady industry, right? Like there was nothing sexy about being a travel agent. But, in the past couple of decades, I would say, luxury travel has really come onto the scene, and even more so. I mean, it's just growing. The wealth, like there's more wealthy people, right? And that age of wealth is getting younger. So the question that you pose with, why people are saying it, it's because of the internet, right? I start my business in 1997, and I was told that I was an idiot. You need a lobotomy. Why would you even try to get into this industry when, the internet, which is such a big deal now, and airlines are cutting commissions.
Everyone's booking their own stuff.
Everyone's booking their own stuff. But the internet truly is our friend because it makes it so easy for us. Now, there's going to be a segment of the population that when it comes to travel, they are going to book their travel online, right? My business is a people business. I know every CEO, every president. I know everybody in this industry. So, if you call me and you say, I would like to have, a room at the Four Seasons in Paris, I know that general manager there. When you're trying to book that on the internet, that you're not going to get any kind of special treatment. And a colleague of mine, she says to people, you can't VIP yourself. And at the end of the day, that's really it. You could go, I'll never be the cheapest. 100% hands down, I will never be the cheapest game in town. You can find cheap on the internet, whether it's, whatever those websites, on your own, do it. But if you want a true experience and you want to have that general manager come around the corner with a glass of champagne when you're checking in and like everybody else is looking around like, who's this guy? Why are they getting special treatment? Right? So
Trey's like, I think I might do some travel.
And people spend more money with me than they do with their doctors, than they do with their lawyers. It's an investment. Travel is an investment.
Yeah.
And you as the consumer, you are inundated with emails and brochures, and your head is spinning. You don't know where to go, what's next. My job is to tell you what you want. Right?
Yeah.
Like you don't even know that you wanted to go to the Monaco Grand Prix with me on the Ritz-Carlton yacht last year. You didn't know that you wanted to hop on that 777 private jet that I hired to take us to Morocco in the middle of COVID. There are things that I have put together, and it's just like, sign me up. I had no idea that's what I wanted to do, but I'm going. And what's great is a lot of times my clients don't even know where they're going or what they're doing until they're getting on the plane, just because they trust what we've put together for them. So our industry is based on a lot of trust.
And I would think that's also relatively recession-proof because, people at that level doing those kinds of things, they're not dealing with a lot of those issues, right?
It's interesting you say that because, our industry, if I started in 1997, right? And then we have 9/11 happen, right? And we don't know what's going to happen. But pretty much the American traveler bounced back shortly thereafter. And then we have the financial crash. Right?
Yeah, 2007,
2008. Yeah, it was a ball of fun, right? And we had our own little Sarasota mini Madoff scheme that was happening here. So a lot of our clients got affected.
They don't.
And that was at a time when even though that clientele, maybe they weren't affected, but they certainly weren't going to go out and spend the money and go travel while their next door neighbor has just lost everything. So that was a really, really horrible time. And then, we kind of make it through like 2014. I do a lot in the Middle East, so there's a lot. That part of the world's always going to have something crazy going on. But then we hit COVID, and all hell breaks loose, right? So some industries thrived during COVID. Our industry was, oh my gosh, so many refunds, so many rollovers, so many people upset and angry and get our money back. And it's like, there's no money to get back. You just have to kind of sit and wait it out.
So Felipe's initial assessment of the industry was completely wrong.
Correct.
Okay.
Completely
Just making
wrong.
sure I read that right.
I was gonna get to the COVID.
He
the
does
COVID
that
point.
a lot. He'll instead of asking a question, he'll dictate the answer to you. I'm glad you stood up to the bullet.
Tell me if I'm wrong. I love that.
Well, but I mean, it is true because. And living here in Sarasota, and we in Florida, it was like COVID didn't really exist, right? And here I am trying to get people to travel. Like, this is my livelihood. I need you to travel. So as soon as some of those countries started opening up, I was gone. I was out there, and I was on social media like, hey, I mean, all these empty airports, right? Like, come on, this is all fine. I never once got COVID. I had to test for it all the time. I was traveling the world for the 3 years that it was an issue and a challenge. I still never got it. And people looked to me. I got criticized. I had people on social media saying to me like, why are you doing this? When, you better quarantine yourself for 2 weeks and this and that. And I was just like, all right, I'll stay in my house. I'll
winky
scrub,
face.
Yeah, I'll scrub my cereal boxes.
Don't worry,
I'll
it's
do
a nice
whatever.
house.
Yeah, right. So it was, but I had to do it because it was my livelihood.
Yeah.
And then you remember, like 2020, everything shut down. 2021, people were getting antsy, and they were just like, we got to go, we got to do something. And that was the 777. I flew. We had 84 people who they didn't know that they wanted to do it, and they're just like, get me out of this country. I need to travel.
I've flown private a couple of times, but never in a 777.
777
That's crazy.
Sick.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Now, is all your clientele out of the Sarasota area, or?
Majority, yes, but then because it's always word of mouth, so tons of clients in New York, California, Texas, kind of all over the place, but majority Sarasota.
Yeah. And you don't have to be. I mean, you don't have to be local to have you book the travel plans.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, I've got clients I've worked with for decades. I've never even met them before.
Yeah.
I want to tease out a little bit more the post-COVID, as I was just told, it's called revenge travel.
Yes.
I mean, you guys use that term a lot.
Yeah.
Like, so what are you seeing? Are you seeing any trends in that? I mean, are people taking longer trips? Are they taking more frequent trips? Are they going to different types of places for this revenge?
So it's kind of like yes to all of the above. It depends on where you are in your stage of life, right? So COVID hits, and our older clientele, our more mature clientele, is now facing the I've lost time, right? I mean, I was whatever age you want to say, but it was like 3 years of being nervous to travel because of age, because of possible health, implications. Yeah. So that clientele, as soon as the gates were open, they're like, okay, January, March, July, September. It's like, holy shit, okay, yes, we'll do it. And then you had, during that time frame, the younger clientele who were just like, I'm going, I'm going to do it. So now we think about, let's call it from 2020 to 2022, hotel rates just spiked. Insane spikes, right?
Yeah, they were trying to make up lost time.
Sure, right? And also in 2022, most hotel and cruise lines still hadn't gotten their okay yet. So people were doing a lot of their hotel, like their land package travel, because cruise lines couldn't operate.
Right.
And the hotels couldn't operate at 100%. And you couldn't check out of your hotel room at noon and then somebody else check in at 4. I mean, that room had to be like sanitized. Like, we go back and think about how crazy it all was, wiping everything down, right? So it made sense as to why all of those hotels had increased.
They couldn't turn them over as fast, and they're spending more money to turn them over.
Right,
so.
and remember too, when COVID hit and a lot of people in the industry had to still figure out how to make a living, the hospitality industry was pretty much shut down from a staffing perspective. So even if that hotel wanted to run at 100% occupancy, they didn't have the staff for it.
I see.
Right? So I would try to speak to my clients like, as you're getting ready to travel again, remember, be patient, be kind. Be respectful to the fact that these countries are not going to get back to any kind of sense of normalcy. I was saying until at least 2026. And so far, that's still happening, right? People are kind of losing their patience with it because they're like, wait a second, I'm spending €3,000 a night on the Amalfi Coast. You better be damn sure somebody's going to clean my room, But it's like, listen, the staffing is just not there. Some countries, the tour guides, they're not the best experienced tour guides because they all had to leave. They just need some
bodies.
And they had to find a different job where, and COVID teased us, right? So we thought we were getting out of it. And then that Delta strain came. So people were creeping back into work in the industry, and it's like, holy shit, the bomb has dropped again, right? And then they had to leave again. Wow. So there's a lot of things that people outside of the industry hadn't thought about. You know, like my real estate friends, they were killing it because people weren't spending money on travel. They were buying up houses, and then everybody was moving to Florida, right? I mean, I know I sold my house in the middle of COVID. You know? So I think that it's just the industry still recovering, but people are that whole revenge travel. People, they are spending more money than they've ever spent before. Because of the cost of the airline tickets, they are traveling for longer periods of time, where it used to be me. And because you can work remotely now for most professions, people are working remotely. So it's more time away. It's more money per day. People are definitely spending more money per day, and depending on that age gap or like what their age is or where they are in their own space, they're traveling more often.
Love it. Hey, listen, we're having a blast here getting to know Malaka Hilton and Admiral Travel. If you want to get to know her a little bit more, stay tuned for rapid fire questions fueled by food and beer.
Malaka Hilton, founder and CEO of Admiral Travel International, and this is Rapid Fire.
10 random questions, 10 specific answers, nothing off limit. This is Rapid Fire, fueled by food and beer. Do you have any pets?
No.
Everybody loves music. What's the first album you ever bought?
Kiss.
Coffee, tea, bourbon. What's your favorite?
Coffee, flat white.
A large black coffee.
A what?
Large black coffee.
Do you mean a venti?
No, I mean a large.
He means a venti. Yeah, the biggest one you got. A venti is large.
Whether it's Creed or Debbie Gibson, what's your favorite karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song, oh my gosh, Like a Virgin.
Which one do you prefer more, sweater weather or Speedo season?
Summer.
Not the POS you're driving right now, but what's your dream car?
A Honda Prelude.
The new Honda Prelude SI makes driving a more illuminating experience.
What's the one thing that absolutely belongs on every hamburger?
Pickles.
Who's your favorite Seinfeld character?
Jeez, what the fuck's her name? Elaine. Yeah.
Have you ever been mistaken for a celebrity?
Cameron Diaz. It's pretty nice to get mistaken for Cameron Diaz, yeah.
Siesta Key Village or St. Armand Circle?
St. Armand Circle.
So it's interesting you say the work from home thing or work remote thing, obviously not home, but I tell my wife that we can take basically as many trips a year as we can afford, reasonably, and we can take one or maybe two vacations. And my definition of a trip is I can work, right? Not all the time, every minute, but having kids now, I've seen the benefits of travel. I didn't even leave the state of Florida, or actually the state of Florida or Georgia, till probably like 20 years old. So I never really had a passion for travel, even though I was kind of restricted. I didn't feel like, man, I just want to get out there and see the world. I just never had that feeling, much like Trey. So, but now with kids, that's changed dramatically. And I've been to some other countries and seen some more things. And my wife is really, the one that's gotten me into that. So I want you to give some advice, or maybe your ability to sell is phenomenal. I can already see that just from the way you've sold us all on travel, right? And the viewers probably feel it. But I want you to speak to the person that doesn't feel the need to travel and give them some motivation to get out there and see the world. Like, what are the benefits? What's the point?
Well, I mean, I think when you're talking about families, right, with children, obviously because of what I do, I pulled my kids out of school all the time, and
they can put you in jail for that.
Yeah,
these days.
I know, right?
It's crazy.
Yeah,
They're like, if you take the kids out of school too much, we're gonna have a police officer knock on your door. I was like, holy smokes!
It's interesting because I feel like the education that they learn, right, when traveling internationally is so much more beneficial just from that cultural perspective. Yeah. So I think let's just don't take them out of school, travel in the summertime, right? But show your kids parts of the world that that might make them a little bit uncomfortable, right? That might make them ask those questions, might make them appreciate what they have. You know, when you see the kid playing with a stick and a tire and having the time of his or her life, it changes their perception, right? But parents, turn the phones off. Do not let your kids bring the telephones onto, the tour. Yeah, none of that. They've got to pay attention. It kills me when I see that with families where, like the kid is on a safari vehicle and there's something magical happening right in front of them, but they're too busy playing some kind of game. So,
or worse, they're on the iPad watching some other kid play games.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
what? Yeah. There's a tiger over there. What are you doing?
Unplug the
He's
phone.
just been hauled a freaking gazelle.
But I do think, especially in the climate that we live in today, and how social media kind of can shape our kids and adults too. Go travel, because it is going to teach you something that you didn't even know you needed to learn or wanted to learn. And I think it opens up our hearts and our minds. And we don't see color, we don't see religion, we don't see all the things that sadly enough people are fighting about today, right? Yeah. And just go see the world and educate yourselves, because I think those who have traveled extensively are a lot more open-minded. And I see that with my own kids.
Just well-rounded overall.
I see that with my children. They are the sweetest, most loving, most non-judgmental young adults. And I do think that's because of the travel that they've been exposed to. And I get it. Not everybody has the opportunity or is afforded that luxury to be able to do that. But if we're going to save up for something, save up for travel.
An experience,
Save up for an experience.
Yeah, I think that's something that you learn too after trying to quench your appetite with, or whatever, quench your thirst for the excitement with things, and then it fades away so fast, but then you go on a trip, and that is like a lifelong memory.
Right.
So
and you're if you have got 2 or 3 kids, right? The kids are closer, right? Yeah. They kind of only have each other while they're traveling, so the relationships that the siblings have and the families that are so close, the ones that I see out there are the ones that are just traveling the world.
And it doesn't just go for people with children either. I mean, that's like for the person with or without children are going to experience things and see the culture and come back a better, more well-rounded person overall because of it. So.
Right. Whether you're traveling just with your partner, with friends, with your parents, I see a lot of that. No, I think it's experiential, right? It's not material at all.
And I think so. The word I would use is perspective, and obviously perspective is huge for kids,
Yep.
And it's also huge for us, especially when you live in a place like America where we're so far from every other country, and we have our own unique big culture here,
right,
that we don't always have the perspective to see things from other people's point of view.
Yes.
We often think we know everything, even though we only know what we know here, which is we're the largest economy in the world. I mean, it's easy to think that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
But I'm going to still take the other side of this trade.
Okay.
Because I think a lot of times when I hear people say, "Oh, I love to travel," I'm like, "Well, what do you love about it?" And they can't really tell me very much. I'm like, "Well, let me tell you what you love about it." You love it.
He strikes again.
You love I think the young ladies call that mansplaining.
No, you love that you're not at work, right? Because obviously you don't really like working that much, and you love that you can post everything on Instagram. Mm-hmm. So
those Instagram moments.
Yeah, address how much that's affected, and I'm just curious your thoughts on
that.
that.
Just don't run into Felipe at the bar somewhere and just tell him you love to travel. You're gonna get shut down real fast.
Felipe might fail your interview to go on the group trips.
Exactly.
Not a really good fit for this one, pal.
But you bring him
I love playing devil's advocate. I just love it.
No,
I mean,
but you bring him a valid
I think
point.
travel's amazing, by the way. But
Instagram
yeah,
has
what do you
done,
love about it?
Instagram has done a lot for people wanting to travel. Reality television has done a lot for people wanting to travel, and it is true. Like we see it wherever I go. It's an Instagram moment, right? It's already posted before you even get back to your hotel room, but. That's the braggadocious society that we live in, right?
Yeah.
Like, look at my food on the airplane.
I do it because I care about people and I want them to see the experience that I had and get a small taste of it themselves.
Brad, braggadocious hand.
Especially like when I fly private, I always make sure to Instagram it because it's like, this is what you could have if you traveled private. It's cool.
Yeah.
So
there was a
I just want to
gentleman-
motivate them.
An inspiration. He is.
There was a gentleman that was teaching this like social media class at an event I was at a couple weeks ago, and he said, the Admiral Travel page, I call it the Hate My Life page. He's like, because whenever I follow what they're doing, I'm like, God, I hate my life. Why are they, why am I not doing what they're doing? So we don't advertise that way through social media, but yet we are advertising that way through social media.
A subtle advertisement.
Yes, yeah.
So the Admiral Travel page, what platforms are you on?
So
Instagram,
Facebook. My son is helping me get onto this whole TikTok thing. Haven't really mastered it yet, but I am trying. He's 21, so
there you go. He's got you covered.
My 24-year-old daughter was like, "Oh no, mom's on TikTok."
Are they in the business with you, or
they are?
Both of them.
So the 24-year-old, she's actually currently traveling through Europe right now as we speak.
R&D.
But but she's got her laptop and she's working, so she is that generation that just wants to work
Felipe's
remotely.
reason for her loving travel would not work with her.
I was providing a counterpoint that I thought would be thought-provoking to the discussion.
But she's a really great writer, and so she's doing a lot like behind the scenes from the marketing side. My son, who he's just started back up his last year at Florida State, so he interned.
Go Noles.
Yes, go Noles. He interned this summer for me, and is he really wants to get into the business and
I love that.
Really do what I do with hosting trips and taking people traveling around the world.
Well,
Alex, not so much. She doesn't really want to host trips. She wants to be behind the scenes.
I think that's a great opportunity because we just kind of really skipped over the origin story, right? We want to get right into the meat of Admiral and what you do, but and you said, hey, we started this in '97 out of college, but what drove you to travel? What drove you to, what's the backstory behind the love for travel that you have?
Yeah, so growing up in a household, it's just my brother and I. He's 2 years older than me. My father's from Egypt. My mom is from Slovenia, former Yugoslavia, and they were both educated in Europe. And that was a big European, that upbringing was to always travel with your kids. So growing up here, my parents ended up as a family, we ended up in Sarasota, but my parents pulled us out of school for weeks at a time. And I just had the passion for it. I mean, I was traveling internationally since I was 4.
Wow.
And, once in high school, my brother decided he didn't really want to travel that much anymore. And the passion for it, I still absolutely loved it. And I still love it. I mean, I just turned 54, and I'm still loving to travel the world, I mean, my now ex-husband, but we started the business. We were in the business together, and he just decided, within the last year, he wanted to move back he's from Zimbabwe, so he wanted to move back to South Africa. So, there's been a lot of, life change this past year, but it was like, you know what? I still love doing it. My kids want to be in the business with me doing it too. And I mean, I'm running the show all just me, Admiral Travel, and just, once I get to a point where I don't want to do it anymore, that's when I'll stop. But
then
for
your
right
kids
now,
are growing up to step in line.
Yeah,
so.
and my son has kind of become my +1 over the summer. So, he was hosting these trips with me. I was like, here's the intern. He's not bringing anybody coffee. He's like drinking champagne on like the most luxury. He's like, I'm loving it. Living the dream. But he'll be. He and I have the same personality, so he'll definitely, I think, fit in really well.
So
with what I do.
You probably have like your favorite trip you've went on as a travel agent. Right, a boutique travel agency. Mm-hmm. But what was your favorite trip for you personally as a kid growing up with your family?
Ooh, that's we always cruised on Royal Caribbean.
Okay.
Every New Year's Eve, we always took a 1-week cruise to the Caribbean with family friends. Excuse me. And that was always my most favorite thing to do. Couldn't wait for that Christmas, New Year's cruise. Yeah.
So the cruise was it for you?
Yeah, and I loved cruising. And now, and people will say, well, what is it that you want to do now, right? Because when I'm traveling and I'm hosting these trips, and I'm working, I mean, I'm still having fun, but it's a lot of
sounds
work.
tough.
Yeah,
sounds
I know, everyone.
Miserable.
I'm telling you, I just took that group of Florida State fans to Dublin this past week, and I was in it with them. We were friends, we were having fun, but I was responsible for everything. And, that person's too hungover to make the trip this morning. And that person, it was like all these things.
I know, it's like you're hosting a party. You got to be responsible how much ice there is and make sure everybody's having a good time.
All of that,
and,
yes. And, people, they don't show up for certain things. So you got to call their room. I mean, it's a lot. Majority of the work does happen behind the scenes, right? Before the trip even starts. But then once you're on the trip, it is 24/7 smiling all the way around. Yeah, it's what you got to do. So it's not, people do look at it and, back to the whole, the Instagram thing and I want to do what you do. It's like, it's a lot of work.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's
a lot of
over
detail.
27 years.
Yeah.
So.
And that one photo on Instagram is not real life.
Yeah.
Sorry to break it to you.
Yeah, I make it look easy. I really, really do. Because I'm not going to be the one on social that's complaining about the person who just pissed me off, right?
Nobody likes a complainer.
No.
Biggest mistake for a business owner ever. Boo fucking who.
Exactly, yeah. Don't feel sorry for that person, right? So I make it a point to, I never complain. And really, at the end of the day, we're not fleeing our homes in Ukraine or the Gaza Strip. I mean, when people complain, I just want to say to them, really, your life sucks that badly? Come on.
I say the same thing to my fiance all the time, no complaining. No complaining.
Back to the same word.
I'll send you down the street to play with a stick and a tire.
It's all perspective.
I heard you bring up something. We don't call it a bucket list. We call it a wander list right on the pre-show. So, your wander list is probably has a lot of check boxes on it. Is there anything that's left unchecked to this point? I know you saw all the continents, but anywhere you haven't been that you want to go?
Where I haven't been, and it's on my radar right now, is Colombia.
Actually, that's where I want to go. So
let's
plan that trip.
Yeah, we'll go.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Trey wants to go to Colombia too.
Yeah? Okay.
Why Colombia? Where did that come from? I'm just curious.
I think just because it's sort of open and there's luxury experiences.
I want to go get some stem cell therapy there.
Yeah.
I heard it's pretty affordable and it'll keep me looking young forever.
Yeah.
Then I could be 54.
I didn't see us going that way, but
you have bad ligaments somewhere?
No, but they're not as good as they could be.
No, Colombia.
Optimal health.
And there's
but
a
you're
lot
right. It wasn't open. It wasn't open.
You haven't been to Colombia.
Yeah, but it wasn't. It was never really
wasn't
open.
An option
and now, I mean, it wasn't an option. And now watching all those movies, you think, let's go.
Anywhere else that you haven't been that you want to go?
Golly, no. There's a lot of places I want to go back to. Oh, actually, I take it back. I haven't been to Puglia, and I am planning a trip to go there.
Don't even know where it is.
Italy?
So.
Right, Italy. Yeah. And that's fair. I'm glad you said that because I didn't know where it was either. And
you're a travel agent.
Yeah, exactly. See? And one of my employees.
Do you speak Italian?
No.
Because your pronunciation was on point.
Puglia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it's that hard to pronounce. Puglia. How'd I do?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't speak Italian. I'm just saying it sounded pretty damn. It sounded authentic. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean?
So,
it sounded authentic.
Yeah, but and that's when we talk about the revenge travel and all these people going just flocking all these major cities. It's time to go and visit the places
some
that
less traveled places.
Yes, the slow travel.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
So this episode will release mid-September. What trips are you booking up right now? Are you booking up any group trips that you've got availability for, or?
So I've got a trip going to Egypt in February, and I have a trip going to Puglia, as just discussed, in May. Okay. I've got access for the F1 in Monaco.
I want to go to that one.
Yeah, I did that last year. Super cool.
Yeah. My buddy was on his boss's boat, backed up to it, watching it. It just looked ridiculous.
I tell you, it's one of those things where if you go just for the pomp and circumstance, just to see it, to sort of check off that list, you become a fan.
Yeah.
Right? You really do become a fan. It was probably the coolest travel experience I know that my kids have ever had. They were just like, Mom, you are mother of the year right now, doing that pop-up Nikki Beach and the champagne spraying everywhere, videos I was not even allowed to post on Instagram of what those kids were doing. So it is more, I think, just going back to how 30 years of luxury travel and the people who started at year 1, they're still traveling at year 30. They're looking for things to do that are just different. So I try to just create the experiences and do the things that, maybe it is taking you back to the same city, but we're going to do something that's
completely different.
Are there any destinations right now that are trending, i.e. people are asking you about these places more than usual?
Yeah, I think Brazil is one, right? Going into the Pantanal and trying to search for jaguars. That's a really cool thing that people are asking to do. Colombia, as I mentioned, just because I want to go there, but a lot of people are asking. I see a trip there in your future
for sure.
Got to do it. But I think it is also more. I had some guests in today who were just talking about. They just wanted to do an Aman experience, the brand Aman, AMAN, and they have certain properties. Doesn't matter where in the world they are, they just wanted to make sure they stayed at that property.
Is this like a very high-end?
It's super high-end, but I just thought it was really interesting. I thought, okay.
Give me the one that everybody would know, the Aman resort that everybody
So
would know.
in the United States, Amangiri, Amangani out west. There is, there's a lot in Asia. So I think Amansara, which is in
where
Cambodia.
are these places? So you got me on this one.
So Amansara, which is in Cambodia. We've got Amanjena in Morocco.
Okay, so they have names that have nothing to do with the place, with the actual place.
Exactly. So now you're going to Google it, and you're going to be like, holy cow, this is pretty cool. They've got a great property in Tokyo. Japan, talk about trending. So Japan was closed for so long because of COVID, and now everybody's trying to get back in there. So Japan is really hot. That's trending. Yeah.
Can you give me the most unconventional trip you've done in terms of that? Like, I'll give you an example. You said everybody knows the Monaco Grand Prix, but not a lot of people know the Isle of Man race. Like, have you ever done something just weird and quirky like that you wouldn't think people would want to travel to?
She had dinner beneath the pyramids on the Nile River.
But yeah, everybody knows. But everybody knows that place. I'm saying
right,
like a place that is unconventional that you wouldn't think people would want to go to,
like a hidden gem.
So
not maybe a hidden gem, but I'm just thinking weird too.
No, there's
Give me weird.
There's a place in Jordan called Wadi Rum. So WADI and then second word RUM that a lot of people don't know exists. A couple of major films have been like Mars, I think it was called. Is that Matt Damon? Was he in a movie called Mars?
Yes.
Something like that. So that was filmed there. So think about that topography, right? And a lot of people don't know about it. They go to Jordan to go see the site of Petra, but they don't know about this desert experience called Wadi Rum, which is an hour away. And you can sleep in tents there. So things like that.
You lost me there.
And in the Sahara, you can go.
So what's the
sleep in
allure?
tents
You feel like you're on Mars?
Yeah.
You know? Okay.
Yeah. It's just what you're seeing that's there, and it's
You could even
beautiful.
post it on Instagram and make people think you're on
That
Mars.
qualifies weird.
Weird enough for you?
Yeah.
I think that scratches the itch.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
and then this is like, sorry, these are like coming at you fast,
No,
but
it's
it's
all right.
like
I got answers
this is a unique guest. I think, first of all, this is probably the only episode my wife will watch the full length of.
Okay.
She doesn't watch every single one?
I mean, to being honest, I don't think she does, but she hears enough of my voice, right? So, the best time to travel, you can give a short answer. Best time of the year to travel.
Whenever you want.
Okay. I figured it would be quick. And then so you do boutique travel experiences, high end, but because of what you know about travel, if I'm somebody, and I'm not for the record, by the way, but if I'm somebody that, has never left the country and wants to take a more budgeted experiential trip with my family, where would I go? What would I do?
If you've not left the country before?
Yeah, never left the country. Don't say Mexico.
No. I would say Europe.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can there's great value in Portugal. There is great value, and depending on the time of year, we talked about that slow travel. So don't go to Italy between April and October. Go in December, right? Like go at times where the pricing is going to be lower, but more importantly, the crowds are going to be less.
Okay.
And a first time out of the United States of America, London, right? Go to a destination where they speak the language so that you feel a little bit, you may not be able to understand them, but there is that comfort there. But that's typically the first place is Europe. Crazily enough, South America is usually the last place. I don't know why, but yeah.
That's a great question, Brad. I had kind of one similar to that. I mean, can you dispel some common gospel in the travel industry? Like people say, oh, you got to go to Paris in the spring and stuff like that. Are there any of those, like you just kind of said it a little bit, but are any of those conventional wisdom that you can dispel as somebody who's a real insider?
Well, yeah. I mean, I never understood why people with no children traveled in the summertime to Italy. Right? It just made no sense to me. It's hot, and it's getting hotter anywhere in the world. So, and they don't know how to do air condition, like we do, right? So go at times of year when it's less crowds. Like the tulips in Amsterdam or something like that. Well, it doesn't matter. You can go to Amsterdam at any time.
Amsterdam's great without tulips?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes. Wow. Coffee shops.
Heard it here first.
Yes. So I think that my advice would be, obviously, talk to a professional, talk to somebody who wants to get to know you and what your travels are, like what your travel goals are. Because, again, sometimes people, they don't know what they want. And it's up to people like me to be able to say, this is what, based on what you're telling me.
Sales.
Yeah. But based on what you're saying to me, this is where I think you should go. Like, I don't think you would like Venice in June because it's going to be hot and it's going to smell. And right?
And the air conditioning is not going to be 73
Venice in November is great, though.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think that those dispelling those kinds of, my friend, I was at a cocktail party the other night and they told me, blah, blah, whatever. Talk to your professional.
Well, I'm glad we're friends because eventually I'll book a trip
Perfect.
with you. But in the meantime, I may just ask some questions here and there.
I'm here.
When to travel and where.
Yeah.
But you've been in Sarasota for the entire time that Admiral Travel has been in existence.
Yeah.
So safe to say about 30 years,
Yeah, so
years.
I grew up here, went to high school here, left for college. I did the 5-year plan at Florida State because I wanted to stick around for that national championship.
So you've really seen it all.
Seen it all. And then came back. So I've been here since 93.
So would you say you're pro-growth or anti-growth with what we've got going on here now?
Here in Sarasota? Yeah. Oh, that's an interesting question. I love seeing downtown flourish. I really, really do, because when I was in my 20s, I wanted to get out of here and not come back because I felt like it was too many old people. I mean, now I'm one of those old people, but I love to, when I see my kids, my 21 and 24-year-old, where there's so much for them to do. The one thing that they don't have that I love that I had here, if you guys remember this, was the Quay. With American Bandstand and In Extremis and all that. Like,
I can't say I was there during that, but
I mean, I don't know. Are there any dance clubs here? I mean, I know there's live music and you can dance.
You got Gator Club.
Yeah, I've been here.
Where are you going if you want to dance?
No, I remember in Extremis.
This is one for Trey here.
Yeah,
He's
they
the
used
only
to
one who knows
have
about
a
this here.
Sunday night teen night, and that was a big deal for me.
18 plus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, no.
Oh.
I was younger. I was 14 to 17.
Just had to be a teenager.
On Sunday nights over the summer. I used to look forward to every Sunday night.
Oh, I loved that. And I say that to my kids often. You guys have so much more to choose from, but at the same time, you don't have a dance club.
That was my first experience with Daruma, too. They used to have Daruma upstairs.
Yep. Yeah. So I'm pro growth, but to a point.
Okay, so it's safe to see you've seen a lot of the changes. I mean, you've been here for a lot of that. So Trey's got a question.
One of the big changes is all these roundabouts popping up everywhere. And Terminator Law wants to know, what are your thoughts? Do you love them or do you hate them?
I'm not a fan.
Why not? Tell us.
Because I always feel like somebody's going to hit me when I'm trying to go around them. That's the only reason why I'm not a fan.
She might be one of those stop in the middle types of girls.
I'm not, though, but I know it's that person who's coming around the side that I feel like they're going to hit me. So
no, I think I get where you're coming from. That's I don't trust the other drivers.
Yeah. Yes.
That's why I think I'm going to get hit.
Yes.
Right?
And then I know Jesse Biter's got his camera
yeah,
up there.
Great, isn't it?
I laugh whenever I see that.
Did you plan his African safari? Because he had the giraffe coming in his window and stuff.
Yeah,
cool.
we made sure of that. But yeah, so I see what he sees from his unit, and it's like, oh my God.
So are the giraffes always hungry? What if you stayed there?
And so anyways, about roundabouts.
I'm having some tummy problems today. I'd rather not have any green leaves.
So are giraffes always? She's not a zookeeper.
Well, I'm just saying, can you imagine the 2 nights you're there, they're not?
No, they just get let out to come and eat their food and stick their head in the window, and then they
The giraffes are taking a night off from food tonight. Yeah, Trey, are you ever not hungry?
Yeah.
Good question, huh? All right. Well, thank you for coming on. I'm going to pass it over to Felipe to land the plane for us here.
We always end our podcast with the same question, and that is, you obviously know a lot of interesting people here in town through your work and personal life. You were just on Sarasota Speaks. I think you understand what we do here. Mm-hmm. You understand why we do it. Who do you think would be a good person to have on who you know and we may not know? Who do you think Sarasota needs to know?
I think you need to know Derek Bird.
Oh, we know Derek Bird.
Has he been on?
No, we haven't.
Well, then why do you know him? Because, he is a criminal defense attorney.
One of my friends, my friend's wife is like his assistant. You know him too. Yeah, Meryl.
Oh,
She's great, and Justin.
Yeah, she's great.
We could get him on. That's a good call.
Do you think he would want to be on though?
Yeah, Derek is one of the funny. He was in Dublin with me this
Florida
past week.
State. Yeah, no wonder
he's
you
one
know
of the
him well.
funniest human beings. He really is funny.
Yeah,
very, very good. One of my very, very best friends.
I was going to say if you know him through Florida State or you know him through representation.
I've known Derek since Sarasota High School.
He's never represented.
Never represented.
So do you think you could put in a good word for us?
Yeah, I will.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It was a blast.
I love it. Thanks, guys.
Enjoyed it. It was great.
We didn't get to your honeymoon, though.
We're planning that.